Let's go.
Let's fucking do it. Is it time to panic about the podcast getting out, or is it time to panic for our studs? Griffin Springfield, welcome to This Week in Out in Space. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Ken. Could be doing better. 2 weeks in and feeling pretty shitty about fantasy football. So,
yeah,
long way to go, though.
I hear you on the feeling shitty part. For those of you who haven't watched the last podcast or haven't heard, everybody spiked like a 103 plus fever while we were out there in Taiwan. Amelia dropped a plate on her toe, fracturing it. But good thing she's a stud and just walked it off for 4 or 5 days before we even got it checked out. And we're probably going to go get an x-ray a second time here just to make sure that she's healing up fine. And start the new job a week from today and really getting my feedback on the ground from the last 6 weeks of travel. That birthday party back in San Diego when we had everybody together just feels like yesterday to me. It might as well be draft day tomorrow. But all that aside, Springfield, thanks for being on. Appreciate you allowing me to jam this on the calendar.
Of course.
Taking a step back, slowing down a little bit. How was Cancun?
It was Puerto Vallarta, but
Puerto Vallarta,
Mexico. It was amazing. Yeah, it was cool. We went back to the resort where we had our honeymoon, and it was our fourth time back in 7 years since we've been married. Because it's really nice, and it's actually like the slow season for maybe all of Mexico, but for sure Puerto Vallarta. So like this big ass resort's about 10% capacity. And so you probably have like 3 or 4 employees there, bartenders, like waiters, everything per one guest. So it really feels like a 5-star vacation. So we keep going back.
So you guys get those good thunderstorms and everything in the evenings because they got the good tropical weather down there, right?
Oh yeah. They call it the rainy season. So yeah, like perfect and hot, mid 90s, humid, pretty much all day. And then between like 4 and 8 p.m. you get a thunderstorm in the showers, but it doesn't last very long. So it doesn't really impact your time that much.
Yeah. Just being in Taiwan a few days ago, it's got the same type of tropical weather, right? So like every single day it would be like 20 to 30% thunderstorm. But I only think we only got one while we were out there. But when it did, it comes like hot and heavy, right? Like you can just feel it in the air. There's just too much energy for anybody's well-being, and it just comes hard and fast, and you get those nice rapid thunder, and lightning.
It's really cool to watch too.
Yeah, really cool to watch. Very, very different than what we get back home, and cool to kind of get that step out. You also mentioned right before we hopped on the pod, you guys have been married for 7, but together for 11 years. I remember being at your wedding 7 years ago and being kind of a dickhead. But if we take it back another 4 years, I can remember you talking about, it was right on your way out of Seattle, right?
Yeah.
You guys kind of met like in the last few moments. How has your life changed in that last moment from Seattle to today?
Oh man, it feels like just ages ago. We met right around her birthday, which is we met on Friday the 13th, June 13th. And I think I had already accepted the job to go to Virginia and was leaving in like 2 or 3 weeks. And so I waited a couple days to tell her because I was nervous because we were hanging out every day afterwards. And she just decided to, I guess we decided together just to make it work. We were laying on the floor of my empty apartment. It was already packed up. And we're like, do you want to try and make this work? And we decided to. And here we are 11 years later. And yeah, obviously life's totally different. She was 21 when we met.
Oh my Lord.
And now she's 30. Now she's 33, and I was 24, and now I'm 35, feeling like 45. So a lot of changes, a lot of responsibility, as you know, with kids and the mortgage and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's we're still going strong.
Dude, I love to hear those things. One of the mega highlights of starting the podcast is just getting these kind of moments in, right? So like the first thing I think of, just to kind of tie two things together, because I love connecting dots. Brendan and Ari got married on a Friday the 13th as well, right? And so, and I think of Brendan and Ari when I think about two peas in a pod, and you guys as well, right? Making that. I thought that she was going to school out there before, but she just like picked up and completely changed plans.
She took we did a year-long distance. So
Yeah.
I left, and she was working at the Children's Hospital, Seattle Children's, because she had just
Okay.
graduated college.
Yeah.
And she had always planned to go back for her PhD. So she spent that year working and applying for schools. And then, she ended up getting into Virginia. I think it definitely helped that when she came out for her interview, she had the internal hookup, not from me, but just from, people around athletics and things like that.
Yeah.
So it ended up working out. So we did 1 year long distance.
Okay. I mean, but still, dude, like the absolute, like, again, I feel like I'm watching a movie with you guys talking about like laying in an empty apartment, eating a pizza, having that last discussion about, is my life going to go this way, or in an alternate universe, is it going to go this way? Right.
Crazy.
It's wild, dude. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't have that quite, untangled in my head, but man, my heart's all warm and fuzzy thinking about you guys. Congratulations on
Thank
7
you.
years strong and 11 years. I guess, anyways, the next thing that's got me all soft and fuzzy is thinking about you spent some time with the Oakland Raiders, didn't you, Trip, as an intern? Were you like a tight ends coach, or what was your deal with those bastards?
No, yeah, I was lucky. I was definitely lucky. So my last year at Cal, I was on the, student equipment. I was an equipment manager, right?
Okay.
And so at Cal, I did during practices, like help the tight ends group. And then there's a couple guys who had interned with the Raiders before, because there's small world right there with Cal football and the Raiders. And so they said every summer they look for training camp interns. And they connected the dots, and I was able to get an interview and did a training camp with the Raiders. It was 2012.
2012.
No, wait. Yeah, 2012. Summer of 2012. They just hired Dennis Allen, and Carson Palmer was the quarterback. So 1 year before Derek Carr.
Oh Lordy! So I remember the Janikowski story. And we'll save that for another day. Are there any other like quick stories that come to mind when you think about that time in your life?
Just having a lot of fun, and having a lot of freedom. And it was cool specifically for that summer and that internship to be just behind the scenes and like, feel like a part of the team and feel like you're working in, together, for one direction. And all I can say is they really take care of their people, and the food was amazing. And as you can imagine, it was plentiful considering they had to feed 100 guys at that size. So every breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks, everything, it was unlimited, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I love Holy Smokes. What's the HBO series? Hard Knocks, right? Where they get into following a team. And I was watching one of the Bills episodes, and they were like showing them getting on the plane and just have fucking catering just like stacked on stacked on stacked, and it's just like it makes sense, right? Because these guys like need calories, but it's another thing probably to see it in person, right? Because like just getting a flash on camera as opposed to how many of those lunches do you smoke, Trip?
I never got anything to go, so I didn't go to any of the away games, but I remember they had the best lunch barbecues, right? So there was usually it was like morning workouts and meetings, and then they'd have lunch, and it was afternoon practice for the most part. Yeah. And so lunch was barbecue, so burgers and ribs and just any sort of delicious meat that you wanted, and it was so good. I think I gained probably 10 or 15 pounds for sure.
I'm sure that was
I wasn't moving too much either. I was just eating a lot and not moving a lot, sitting in an office.
Yeah, you got to bulk up when you're on the squad. You got to take those hits and stuff. So thanks for sharing those moments. I want to take it way back, way back, because if I've got my notes straight here, you and I have got the longest connection out of anybody in the league. Coming from my perspective, we go back all the way to Lincoln Middle School.
That's right.
The home of the Panthers on 2000 California Street, none other. and you were within walking distance of the stomping grounds. I went to Palmquist right across the street. You didn't go to Palmquist, if I remember correctly, did you?
No, I went to South O.
You went to South Oak, yeah, right, because you're a South Oak guy, right? Which is a perfect segue into the next topic I'd like to get into, Tad, here, if I can get back to my notes, which I'm not going to be able to. But the title was Son of Oceanside. You have deep ties to the homeland of Oceanside. I also consider myself as a son of Oceanside. I'm almost second generation. My dad moved down to Oceanside when he was 5 years old. And so technically I can't claim second generation. But when I think of a man of Oceanside, I think of Griffin Springfield. What does Oceanside mean to you?
It's a lot of nostalgia right now. And as I get older, I do miss it more and more. Just thinking about all the fun times that we had, at school, playing sports, going to surf bowl, eating food, running around. It's a little different now because it's so different, gentrified, right? Like, oh yeah, the downtown area, as you know, is completely rebuilt, and they're trying to make it like a mini resort town. And South O is completely different. It's like hipster paradise now. A lot of the Mexican food places that we grew up on and loved are gone or suck now, or cost $12, $15 for a California burrito. So a lot of it has changed. Plus the obviously the value of the land and the houses is so high. It's not. It's bringing in a different type of folks, which is cool. But that's just for where I grew up. I don't know. There's different parts of Oceanside, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I'll be happy to report that Rookies is still there. I didn't go in, but I drove by El Camino a couple times, and it's still fucking the shithole that it's always been. Another thing that comes to mind when I'm thinking about the Lincoln days is we got the moniker, or maybe we named ourselves the Twin Towers, which seems wildly inappropriate after 2001 9/11, which we recently just had a few days ago. But you made the squad, and I got cut pretty quickly, and I had my own little hallmark moment where the day after, I think it was Fahi cut me, I went up to the top of the hill, that back driveway, that comes off the top, and just sat there sulking, just doing nothing for a day or two. And then I eventually played basketball at El Camino, and I don't think you ever played basketball after middle school, did you?
I played 1 year of JV.
You played 1 year JV.
Yeah, 1 year of JV, and then was a varsity call-up for CIF playoffs to get smoked in the first round and sit at the end of the bench.
Well, it seems like the schools have flip-flopped. Like we neither have a great football or a great basketball team at one time. So you guys had the football squad, we had the basketball squad, and I think if we went back and looked at the Lincoln flag football team and the basketball team, that there's some absolute monsters on there. Anybody come to mind on the basketball squad that might be still kicking it here in 2025?
Oh man, I don't think anyone on that squad did anything athletically that I can remember. But just from Lincoln, obviously Sam Brenner comes to mind.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of the just Samoan dudes who did really well, like in high school football and high school basketball, but nothing really happened for him after that. But I do remember the basketball times, and it was really weird. Fahi, I think I was the only white guy on the team after you got cut. And I never played, and he called me Marshall the entire year. He didn't know my name. It was like some reverse racism, like think of the whitest name you can give someone.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I got into the game a little bit, but I was definitely at the very, very end of the bench. And dude, we were pretty bad. Dudes in the teams were wearing like Air Force Ones to play basketball in on the carpet of MLK Middle School. So I remember that too.
All right. On the last Oceanside bit, I just want to take one step forward to high school. You had the unique perspective, not only attending Oceanside High School, probably the purest claim to the Oceanside proper high school, but you also spent some time at El Camino. To your mind, what are the biggest differences between the two schools?
El Camino felt a lot bigger. I mean, I know they probably had like 1,000 more kids give or take, maybe a little less than that. But it just felt like a bigger school, and it felt like a nicer school, which, I mean, infrastructure wise, it definitely was. I think that's changed. They've rebuilt up Oceanside High School now.
Yeah.
It felt cleaner. It felt like the teachers were better and more invested. And it felt like there was more diversity too at El Camino. I mean, Oceanside was really, really heavily Mexican and Samoan, and El Camino, you know, definitely a lot of white kids, a lot of black kids, a lot of Samoans, Mexicans. So it felt more diverse, and it felt like a cleaner and overall better school, which I think in those days it was ranked higher for all of the better high schools. So there's no surprise there.
Sure. I mean, didn't hold you back, right? You got into Berkeley, so I think you were going to get it done regardless of where you started. Another fun topic we can jump forward to is we got Raiders versus Chargers tonight, Trip. Are the Raiders going to get it done tonight, or are they going to be experiencing pain? They're going to be giving out pain? What's going on tonight?
I mean, so there's going to be pain for someone. There's going to be fantasy pain, I think, first and foremost. And I think there's a real possibility that the Raiders do win, and then Chargers fans experience a lot of pain, because I don't think anyone expects the Chargers to lose this game. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Raiders, especially after their week one performance, and then seeing how the Patriots played the next week. And you got to remember, it was rainy and windy that entire game in Foxborough, and Geno still led the league that week in passing. And he is better now from just watching him in practice and preseason in the one game than Derek Carr or Carson Palmer or anyone ever was in my lifetime, back to Rich Gannon. So we actually have a real quarterback and real weapons and a real coach. And so don't sleep on us too much. It's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, that's getting me hyped up, Trip, because there's nothing. Again, I'm a relatively newcomer to the scene when it comes to football. I think I could if you gave me a moment, I could probably go back and nail the exact time which I decided that I was actually going to get invested into this thing, right? Because there's an obvious 10-year streak where I was just out in space more than anything else when it came to fantasy football, and was just donating to the group fund and participating at whatever fashion my mental allowed me to. But at least for the last couple of years, I've been pretty plugged in. And this year I've been very plugged in. I was keeping up with all of the podcasts and whatnot, from, pre-draft drafts to all the way through to right now. And in my early Chargers fandom, this is the first time I've ever actually felt confident that we're just going to take care of a bad squad, or at least what, my head is built up to be a bad squad. And that would just be the perfect Charger moment to get to have a season last year where we took care of squads that didn't make playoffs, and then come out week one, Greg Roman completely flip the script on the Kansas City and just go way heavy on the passing scheme, and then just absolutely fumble a last minute heartbreaker to the Raiders would be the classic Charger come back to earth moment for me. Cause I've had a few moments here and there, but as an investor Chargers fan, it would be a nice gut punch to take an L tonight. Speaking of L's, I think on the whole, we've had an annual bet going for a few years now, and I don't think we've talked about it until this moment. Are we still on for our bet? Is it $50, or what are we doing this year, Spring?
Yeah, we can do $50 either per game or total, right? So usually we do the 2 games, but we'll do an aggregate score. So if they split the games, it'll go to the scorecards, and then if it's 2-0 either way, obviously that person wins or loses.
All right. I think I like that, even though I think didn't we I lose that one last year?
You won last year. The Chargers won both games, but I think I won 3 years in a row before that.
That's what it was.
The Raiders either split or handled the Chargers pretty easily.
Yeah. So on that bet, my memory has it that I just kind of tagged on that I became aware at some point that you and Tom had that bet running. How long have you guys have had that? Or was that the original bet going between you guys, or you just have shit tons of bet going out with everybody?
I was actually talking to him earlier today about this, and our original bet is just per game, right? So if they go 1-1, it's a tie. I think with you is where a couple of years ago when I was like, hey, like I don't want to tie. That sucks. I want to win or I want to lose this bet. So let's make sure someone wins and someone loses. So I do like that as well. But Tom and I are going to go with our standard, just games, just win or lose. And if they split the games, it'll be even.
Yeah, thinking of standard relationships, we got Pete versus Jim. Pete's birthday, 74 years old. And I don't remember the exact quote, but I like Jim was like talking about like not acknowledging or like writing him a letter or whatever. These guys have some history together all the way back to their days in college, which again I don't know anything about. But both of these guys love to run. You guys got your new set in Genty. We've got our new set in Amarian. Is it going to be a run heavy game tonight? You think both ways, or how do you see?
No. They're going to be slinging it. It's going to be Gino versus Herbert tonight.
Oh man! All right, I don't want to do too much call out, but I know we talked a little bit before the year started, and if I remember correctly, you were saying something along the lines that the Raiders and the Chargers team, top to bottom, was pretty even, and I feel like there were a few position groups that you felt like either side had, but the one thing that stuck out to me is that you had Gino and Herbie in the same bucket. Am I remembering that correctly? Do you still feel like Gino and Herbie are in like the same kind of like talent bucket or advantage when it comes to this matchup?
I do think they're at least the same. Yeah, I mean, the age is really the only difference. But if you look at arm strength, both elite arms.
Yeah.
If you look at processing, both are really good, but also have moments of when they get pressured, they look like shit, which we've seen from both of them over the last 5 years. And they're both a little bit mobile. You know what I mean? They both can pull it down and run for 15 yards. So nothing crazy. But I think they're pretty even at this moment. Yes.
If I could place where the rage is coming from in my body right now, then I would respond. But there's I don't have a reason for where this rage is coming from.
No, the reason is because Gino's had a career of getting drafted by the Jets, which is a death sentence for anyone, and then being a backup for several years, including 1 year in LA. But if you remember him coming out, he was a very highly touted, similar prospect to Herbert, like first, second round draft pick. Maybe not the Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence, but they were both the same coming out of college. So, I mean, I understand why you would say that. But yeah, like for everything I just said, I think they're pretty even, obviously outside of the age. So Herbert's going to be able to do it for longer.
Yeah, no, the Gino coming into the league definitely predates the awakening, right? So I didn't have that second round pick, stowed away. All I had was the Herbie hype and like the comparison to Peyton Manning and having pretty identical numbers and him having statistically superior numbers to any other quarterback. And I feel like there's some red zone kind of clutch, or not red zone, but like 2-minute drill type stuff, right? That he's at the top of some leaderboards that, his 2 playoff losses just kind of blot out any of those other things, which it's hard to argue, right? Because it's all about winning at the end of the day. And if you put up the 2 games he's put up in the playoffs, then kind of harder to defend the Jacksonville loss and the Houston loss.
Yeah, he's been hurt too. Last year for half the year he was hurt. He's obviously like the number stuff is real.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out really hot that first year as a rookie and put up all those big numbers. But I think the last, whatever it's been, this is year 5 or 6, 4 or 5 years, he's been pretty pedestrian. Like the numbers are good. He'll throw for 4,000 yards and 20 or 30 touchdowns, but like he's overshadowed by 8, 10 other quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I think that at least from my perspective as a Chargers fan, it's kind of like this idea that the aura isn't there for him. He doesn't have that killer instinct, right? Like he doesn't have the Peyton Manning, I'm going to go murder your son because you didn't pick up a protection or something like that, right? And we've had moments, right? Like last year, we got pretty frustrated and wasn't yelling at people. And there's some talk in the offseason that Greg Roman made a trip up to Oregon, and like hopefully like murdered some of his pet pigs or something to get him fired up. But I don't know if I've thrown it out in the group chat, but like in the Bolt group chat that we have going, the GIF of Anakin Skywalker going to the nexus of the Jedi when he's going to go kill all the kids for Padme, right? I'm hoping that Madison Beers is his Padme, right? And that he's willing to just murder and commit all sorts of sin and make pact with the devil to be, to become this monster that I think we all believe him to be. And I think tonight's a really good test, like you're saying, that I think, again, I don't have anything against Gino being able to put numbers. I think that's good context to the conditions of the game against New England. We're going to find out a lot about both squads tonight. Something else we found out a lot about was just the state of the AFC West. 0-2, Kansas City just looking like they're done. Denver, I think a lot of us expected Bo Nix to take that step forward. He's looked shaky early on. What's his face? Their big cornerback got injured this last week. And maybe not going to be the stalwart defense that we all thought that they were going to be this year. And Chargers Oakland, question marks, right? AFC West is exciting time to be. What are your thoughts, Tripp?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that. I think a couple weeks ago in Temecula, Hunter asked me what's my prediction, and I said Broncos 1, Chiefs 2, Chargers 3, Raiders 4. But thinking that all the teams were going to be, they're at the very bottom 8 or 9 wins, so no one's truly terrible. Yeah. After 2 weeks, I think I have to flip it. I'd say Chargers 1, Raiders 2, Broncos 3, Chiefs 4. Yeah. Chiefs don't scare anyone. They have a terrible run game. Their receivers are hurt. The defense is not looking like a typical Spags defense. And same with the Broncos too. Like coming into the year, everyone said unanimously they were the number 1 defense, right? And then Pittsburgh was right up there too. And both of them have just, I wouldn't say shredded for Denver because they played a rookie in Tennessee the first week, but they have not lived up to that hype. And then offensively for Denver, yeah, like Bo Nix hasn't looked great. The running game, they're still trying to figure it out, which again, for the Chargers and the Raiders, I think are better right now, at least. So.
Yeah, a lot of parity, and Kansas City 1-2, like you're saying, the run game. I think maybe not so surprising with Pacheco coming back, right? Again, one of those late round guys. He hit for where he drafted, but really, what's the ceiling? And the fact that they're giving Kareem Hunt as much work as they've given him so far is kind of a worrying sign, right? And then with their weapons being out, and Travis just being
Travis is cooked. He's cooked.
Yeah, definitely on the downside.
You can see those first 2 games. It's been very, very clear. Him and Cooper Kupp are in the same conversation. And Cooper Kupp had a good game statistically last week, but Kupp is still, they can't. Yeah, their bodies are pretty much at the end.
Yeah, so I will find out. If Kansas City, relying on Patrick Mahomes being the best quarterback talent, with no other talent around him, is that good enough? With a mid Spags defense, it doesn't look like it so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the AFC West and just to buttress the point you made earlier about switching Chargers. Read a headline today that Vegas has switched to Chargers being the betting favorite to win the division. I know we got a lot of games to go, but holy smokes, it feels like we've got a lot of turn, in the AFC West to get started. Another fucking gut-turning thing that we've had to experience was your loss week 1. I've never seen the app be in a broken state where it's presenting a win on one page and a loss on another. Sorry to touch on it, but in my mind, it's one of the worst, if not the worst, losses of all time. Where's your head at after last week?
Yeah, it was really tough. My first thought is just like Bill Belichick coming up and saying, "Hey, we're on to Cincinnati." Unfortunately, this week was Cincinnati and didn't play very well. This week either. But it was definitely a roller coaster game last week, and I can't be too upset because I had guys that didn't perform very well. But it's always tough when you leave all the points on the bench and just a very fluky last play of the game plus a stat correction gets you. So it is what it is. Luckily it's only week 1, so we can move forward for sure and focus on the team playing better. Speaking of the
teams, I haven't gotten it out yet, but the best draft results have been in for quite a while. And Luke and I's podcast I dropped that the last two were him and I with exactly
0 votes, right?
0 votes. And announcing it live, coming to you now, you and Sam tied for first with 6 votes. We had Casey and Jason tied for second. How do you feel like your and Sam's team stacks up? Because if I were to look at them, I would say you especially probably had the most balanced, strong top-down team. Sam swung a little bit higher, for the fences. And again, not to say that you've had middling results, but I maybe would use that word for Sam. So 2 weeks into this thing, the top vote getters for the best draft, how do you guys feel like your squad stack up with everybody else week 2?
I think we have very different teams, but I mean, both of us are staring at 0-2 right now, so
yeah,
not happy. And Yahoo, and I remember even Fantasy Pros. Thomas showed me his Fantasy Pros. Like Hunter had won best draft from the websites, and he's 0-2.
Yep.
And Jason was at the bottom, but like Jason's team looks really, really strong right now. Like his guys that he's hit on, he's really hit on. So I don't know. It's been a weird start. I was texting with Sam a little bit yesterday, and the touchdowns just haven't been there.
Yeah.
I know week 1 was a pretty low scoring week for everyone. But week 2, we've had some, you put up a lot of points, Brendan put up a lot of points, Casey, like some of these guys are getting back to it, and not a lot of touchdowns. I think Hunter told me yesterday in 2 weeks, he's had 2 total touchdowns on his team, total, including quarterback. I have a little bit more than that. I think I only have 1 touchdown this week so far.
Oh Lord,
with 2 guys to go. But yeah, I think it's the same it's the same with Sam, right? Like it's just lack of touchdowns, and in our league, if you're not scoring touchdowns, you're not going to win. And that's one of my takeaways from a couple of years ago when you told me I had the best draft, and I went kind of very similar. Like that was like the Keenan, Lamar draft. And it's when I realized that putting up 12 to 15 points is good, but it's not going to win you anything.
Yeah.
Like, you need players to score touchdowns and score points to actually win and not just be stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and that was kind of a point for me this offseason too. As much as my flat draft doesn't look like it, I think that I tried to focus on players that were going to have those high touchdown upsides, right? Hunter, James Cook had 2 touchdowns and matched your whole squad in week 1, right? He's a paid running back on one of the best offenses in the league, right? I was a big fan of Luke going after Derrick Henry. I was a big fan of you going after Josh Jacobs, right? Like, I think it makes sense to have really good players and really good offenses, right? And so, yeah, but the second thing that I think of hearing everything you just said is that we play a very small sample size sport, right? It really is a week-to-week type of deal, and touchdown variance is a huge factor in what goes down. And week 1 was kind of a shit show across the board, but we started to see some spark fly this week. And in as much as, I don't like being on the wrong end of the 150-60 ball, where the hell, Brendan's going to drop on my dome, this week, it's exciting to see those numbers bump up and have a little bit of, fireworks going, as opposed to, a lot of these like sub 100 scores that we've seen. Any other takeaways, Trip?
No, I think it's still a little bit early, but a lot of teams look good after the draft. Every team looked good. It was hard to say this team was bad, and now we got a lot of teams that look like they got a lot of holes. So that's fantasy football. It's only week 2.
So, I suppose I haven't shied away from stirring the pot. So I'm going to continue to go in that direction just a tad. Retouching on my manager tiers, I've got top 4 being Thomas, myself, you, and then Ben. I stick to that still pretty much. I think Ben's got a little bit more top-heavy team than we're used to seeing out of him. I think a lot of my guys have hit. I've got Debo, James, Kraft, right? I think, again, your running back core is really fucking terrifying, and you could have a lot of pieces around it. Thomas's squad is putting up numbers. the trades early on. I like your trade with Casey. I think my trade with Thomas was a proof that I'm still not over the emotional swings of playing fantasy football. But in general, would you say there's anybody missing from that top tier that I have in your books, or do you feel like that's pretty solid for the top 4 guys in the league?
It's tough. I mean, I would agree with that. I have obviously a ton of respect for Thomas, and historically a ton of respect for Ben. Like, I've had lots of problems with Ben over the years, but Ben and I have been bad recently. Like, we'll just call it what it is. Like, we really struggled to put together teams that win and break 500, as we've heard on the Fantasy Football Till Death podcast. And a lot of the folks that haven't been in the conversation historically are doing really well. Like Brendan. Like, Brendan's still killing it. He's about to be 2-0, leading the league in scoring after being a madman last year and making the finals the year before that. I mean, I think Evan's in that same boat. Like, Evan, the last couple of years has done really well. Looks like, he's a favorite to finish it off and go to 2-0 tonight. But like, I think we're really, really bunched up in the middle. So, historically, I agree with what you're saying, but a lot of the other folks are making a strong push for sure.
Yeah, I like that you're pointing at Brendan again. I can't not see him as a wild card. He has an unorthodox, play style compared to the rest of us. But yeah, as far as results goes, he's been putting up numbers recently, and so just because I don't understand it, I respect his process. It's not something I understand fully. And if it wasn't for having looked at the last, rolling through the PPR or with the half point PPR points, I think Evan's bottom 3 or 4 when it comes to scoring. And so, if I was just doing off the top of the dome, I would put Evan up there. But looking at the points scored, if I'm not 100% off, he was pretty low. And so, I would say he's got a little bit of that Simmons magic going, as opposed to the fantasy prowess. Trying to take another step here into just broader football talk. Last week I was bringing up, can defense be so bad that it hurts the offense? Can Cincy's O-line be so bad that it just absolutely takes out Burrow for 3 months? When we're looking at Kansas City, not only is their defense bad, but obviously Burrow's out now. Can we trust Jake Browning to support anybody in this Cincy offense now?
I'm going to say yes, but I am a little biased for Jake Browning because all the way back to Oceanside in high school, he's from Folsom, which is a powerhouse school in Northern California. And in maybe, I don't know, 2013, 2014, the Pirates were still good at football, and I was following them, and they made it all the way to the state championship, and they got waxed like a 60 ball on them by Jake Browning. And Jake Browning set the, at least California, but maybe national record for touchdown passes. He had like 75 touchdown passes in California high school football, which is not a slouch. I mean, he was playing De La Salle, he was playing these big schools, and then he went to University of Washington and was very solid too. So he's also stepped in a couple of years ago when Burrow was hurt. So
right,
I don't know if he's going to win them games, but yes, he will easily support Jamar Chase and Chase Brown on the dump offs, and maybe T. Higgins too. So I don't think fantasy production wise it's going to drop off, but I do think they're a worse team now for sure.
Yeah, no way to argue that there's a step down for Burrow there, right? I definitely see Jamar as being unaffected, and I think you could make an argument that maybe he's even more valuable now because those guys that don't have that elite, processing are just kind of
going first
focus on somebody, right? Yeah, so it's just like we might see 18, 20 targets for Jamar Chase the rest of the way. I'm definitely dropping Higgins and Chase, way down my rankings just because of the overall situation. If we were to draft today, would Jamar still be your one-on-one trip?
I think he would, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a close second. I mean, he can score from anywhere. We know it, and he's getting a lot more work now, and he's catching more balls than ever. So it would be close. It would be close between him and Jahmyr Gibbs, given the current situation. So I'd say a coin flip.
I love that answer. Yeah, Detroit putting a lot of these questions we had about their offense to bed quickly with the 50 burger that they hung. And the Sun God eating heartily this last week, and would not surprise anybody if Gibbs is gobbling up the trio, get the old gobble gobble turkey going before the actual turkey day. Another step forward into looking at some of our let's say preseason takes we had. I know Caleb Johnson on the Steelers was somebody that I think had a lot of buzz coming out. Just on the topic of moving on as a manager and not being stubborn about your takes, do you like Luke dropping Caleb Johnson so quickly?
Yeah, I think so. It might not be, the right move, but after 2 weeks, it looks like the right move. And to me, it shows that, Luke's not holding on, and he's really searching to find someone that can make an immediate impact. And right now, Johnson is 100% not it. I mean, it's a similar with I forget who had Andrews, but whoever dropped Andrews, there's no reason to hang on. Yeah, there's no reason to hang on to these guys.
Yeah.
So I like those. I like those type of moves.
Yeah, I love it. I think it shows that Luke is here to play. I've been very vocal, right, about the Dom Luke situation and not being a fan of the kind of pseudo mystery about who's doing what. But I want to say early and often that I appreciate and I respect what Luke is putting out here early. I think he had a really solid draft. I think the fact that he's moving on from some of these early takes is going to pay dividends for him as he's being fluid early on. I would have dropped him as well. Not that what I do, it says anything about the quality of a move, but it might be bad, Luke. I would do the same thing, but I appreciate, that he's making those drops. You mentioned Mark Andrews. I totally agree. I think that that was another guy that probably doesn't need to be rostered very much in that Travis Kelce. He was elite at one point, but he's gone. Another two guys that I have in that same category, Isaiah Pacheco and Matthew Golden. Let's say you were just a monster fan of Booty and you had to drop one of those two guys. Do you have it in you to move on from Pacheco or Golden at this point to pick up somebody like Booty?
Easily Golden. I mean, I don't know why Graham hasn't already. We all knew going into the year that Packers wide receivers were pretty much useless for fantasy because you can never predict what's going to go on. And so, in watching those games, I think Thursday night on Amazon, the whole country got to see, they throw to 6, 8, 9, 10 guys, and Jordan Love spreads it out a lot. So, Jaden Reed going down hurts, so that's why I picked up Romeo Doubs, but I'm never going to play him unless I'm forced to. So any Packers receiver is not startable. For sure.
Yeah. So not to get too out of myself or pat myself on the back, but does Tucker Kraft fall in that receiver? He's a ball catcher, right? He's a playmaker, and people have called him, Mini Kittle. And as the number one Kittle fan, do you feel like Kraft's the answer in that offense, or do you think that was just a spike week and we're just going to continue to see just a round robin of scoring, and you're not going to be able to pick who it is?
Well, I've had Kraft for the past 2 years, so I think watching enough, he's very frustrating too.
Okay.
Last week was his first 100-yard week ever, and he does score a lot of touchdowns, and he's a really, really good player, very Kittle-esque, right? He blocks his ass off, he'll do anything, and he's a very, very good football player. But there's going to be weeks where he sees 3 targets, 2 targets, and that's just a reality. So if you're willing to ride that out for the spike weeks, there's definitely going to be spike weeks too, because he's a really great player, but he's not going to be a model of consistency, in my opinion, unless something has switched in the off season where Jordan Love doesn't care. He's going to throw him the ball. But I think we've seen, again, the first 2 weeks, him hitting 8 to 10 receivers a game. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, but that was exactly what he had week 1, right? So he had 2 or 3 catches, and
he scored. Right.
He had
19 yards, right? And so,
yeah,
that's going to happen for at least half the games of the year.
Yeah. What's probably not going to happen is Booty turned into Malik Neighbors, but at LSU, if I'm, again, Graham, please correct me, but he was playing ahead of him at some point. I know a lot of us probably had some raise eyebrows at Jay's fervent early use of his fab. But the more I've been paying attention to Booty's, background, that betting scandal in college, still got drafted, really hurt his capital, stuck around. Is he positioned to leapfrog Diggs and kind of take that next step as Drake May's, neighbors, or as his Jamar Chase?
He already has.
Okay.
Diggs is not cooked, but Diggs is a flex. In my opinion, Diggs is a wide receiver 3 or a flex play. So I know Ben has him as his wide receiver 2. That's a tough spot to be in because Booty does look really good. And I think I saw a stat on ESPN today where like 8 of his 9 last games, he's had 100 yards or a touchdown. So and that's all with Drake May. I mean, Drake May loves the guy. I think he's their only true big outside receiver because they have DeMario. They traded Jalen Polk. They have some other guys, right? But in terms of like a true receiver, like he's not Nico Collins, right? But it's like the Texans. The Texans now, after they only have Nico Collins as a true big receiver. So I'm all about it, and I think that pickup by Jay was a really solid pickup.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I was there in the moment on the waiver wire. I didn't put a bid on him for him, but retrospect, I've got some buyer's remorse, and I'm thinking that Jay's got a gem sitting there on his bench that could pretty easily move into that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 spot here, especially if Drake May's got anything else for us. So with that and keeping the clock in mind, let's take it to field or fuck it, and let's go through this thing, Trip. Jake Browning, is he enough firepower to keep the Cincy boat afloat?
Fantasy, yes. Real life, no.
All right. Ken Walker is back, and Charbonnet is just the backup. Field or fuck it?
I'd say fuck it to that one. He's not cooked, but it's a true 50-50 backfield. It's going to be really hard to predict who's going to eat week to week.
Jaylen Warren's got top 12 upside this year.
I love Jaylen Warren. He carried me in my 0 RB strategy, and he is a fucking dog. But I think I'd have to say fuck it to that one. Aaron Rodgers doesn't look really good. Jaylen Warren hasn't got that many touches comparatively. We don't know who's going to work on the goal line, and his stats, at least for yesterday, were boosted by a huge 65-yard catch. So he's going to be a serviceable 100% running back 3, running back 2, but he's not going to crack top 12.
All right. The other old dude, Russell Wilson's job safe right now?
God, after yesterday, I think so. I if you asked me this 2 days ago, I would have said no, put in Jameis. I don't want them to put in Dart. Like I truly believe quarterback development needs to happen. In the last few years, it hasn't. And we've seen the NFL eat up so many top prospect quarterbacks. So I really want them to wait on Jackson Dart, but they got Jameis. Jameis can fill in and do fine. So I think Russ, he hasn't solidified the job, but he's given himself a couple more weeks.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels, is he experiencing a sophomore slump?
Fuck it. He's too good. And I think Green Bay's defense is elite. Probably the best in the league after 2 weeks. But, news came out that he sprained his knee, which is not going to help, but he's not going to have a sophomore slump in terms of his ability in the mind to process defenses and get the job done.
Yeah. And back to our friend Ben, with his love of the New England Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson is an underrated fantasy asset this year.
It's hard because you can plug him in on a bye week. But he also could be cuttable. He's nothing more than a bye week fill in, which at running back is tough because there's no one on the wire. So I would say he is earned a spot on someone's bench. He's not cuttable, but he has not earned a spot in the starting rotation though.
I love it, and that seems to typify most of Ben's squad is right at that hazy horizon where you don't quite exactly know what's going on, but somehow have made it work in the past. And yeah, I haven't had a lot of recent success, but I believe in Ben. I'm looking forward to what he has to show us this year. This is going to be the last week trip. I'm going to shift us to a new topic next week. So you're bringing us home on health. I would say we've had a lot of good answers up to this point on whether it be mental, physical, spiritual health. We've got a lot on the physical side and not a ton on the mental and spiritual. So would you mind just getting us started on what health means to you today? And I'd have a preference on leaning towards the mental and spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it kind of varies every day, just because my life is so crazy and I have so many responsibilities, from the team that I manage at my job to my wife and my kids. I think most people know in the league, probably not everyone, but I'll say it here. My mom has Alzheimer's and she's not doing well. And so there are serious conversations about like care and living situations and money. And, all she's got is her kids, right? So that's fallen on me too. So there's a lot of stresses and a lot of responsibilities. And so mental health has been tough, right? And some days it's really, really bad. Some days it's good. I just try to focus on what I can control. And generally I think people that know me would agree with this, but I am pretty like process and goals focused, right? So like there's a problem in front of me, let me solve it. But what I've learned, especially being married and having two girls and then dealing with my mom and sisters, is I could be a little bit more emotionally open as well, right? Just like understanding the actual like happiness and emotional needs of people as opposed to solving the problem, which obviously is still important, but it's just a different mindset. So I don't have a good answer for what I'm doing to take care of myself. I just try to stay in the moment, try to stay positive and dig myself out of holes when I get into them. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard.
No, I hear you. And I just want to take a second to say thank you for the vulnerability, for bringing out the big heavies on the health bit. I hear you talking about the awareness of that emotional availability and kind of moving in that direction. And I'm right there with you that's a huge part of me. Hearing you talk about your mom, your wife, your girls, right? I'm a double girl dad alongside of you, but I don't have nearly the amount of X chromosomes in your life, right? With the sisters. I mean, I do have a sister myself, but you've got two, right? Sisters?
Two, yeah.
And so that access to emotional well-being, or even just being present with your emotions, has been a really foreign part of most of my life, because I modeled myself a lot after my dad in that perspective. And that looked like just being closed off, right? He was physically present. I've been physically present for, a lot of people in my life, but being there for them emotionally is a very new thing on the field for me. And so also, this is the first time hearing about your mom, so it's heavy news for me to hear that, and I appreciate you sharing. And my grandma on my mom's side also had Alzheimer's, and she had let's say the body lasted a really long time. I think that on average the diagnosis is a 5 to 10 year timeline, right? And I think she was like 15 or 18 years into it before she eventually went. But that was a big core factor of my life growing up. She started showing some signs when I was in high school. And I watched my mom go through what you're starting to go through. And I was able to be, I think, present to a certain extent with what she was struggling with. But when you're dealing with those decisions with your mom and your family, how do you keep those emotions in check when you're making some of these big decisions?
It's almost impossible, right? Like you just gotta really think through it and lean on on the people close to you for, outside opinions, because like, at least for the health stuff, like direct interactions with siblings and, your wife, like people who are in the thick of whatever problem you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's hard. And so having outside perspective, or people you trust that you can talk to about it, just to say like, hey, do you think that reaction was warranted? Right? Do you think that it was a little bit overboard? Is definitely helpful. But it's, I don't know. Like I keep saying, just take it on a day by day, minute by minute basis.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's the next thing I think of when you're sharing that stuff with your mom. Again, if everyone hasn't already been aware, my dad had a big bout of depression start right before the pandemic hit, and I was living at home, and my mom and I were kind of co-conspirators in taking care of him. And so navigating the healthcare system and trying to figure out some of these big things was a big part of getting the ball rolling. But then, having that shared experience in making some of these like real life decisions that are going to affect the way that my dad's life rolls out is something that took me quite a while, I think, to get around of. And I was actually having this conversation with Mel last night about how I was fortunate in the sense that my dad's struggle with mental health lasted as long as it did, because I got a lot of exposure to not only like what suffering looks like, but then I had time to process it. Right. And in a lot of ways, as much as it felt like I was suffering, in the months where things were like scary, we didn't know what it looked like. I had the support of Mel early on. She was one of the pillars of my life, as it kind of sounds like Emily is for you. But it didn't really clarify for me for like 2 or 3 years. So sounds like you're in the middle of it, Trip. And I hear you doing the day by day thing, but where do you, how does this moment place itself in your life right now? And, if you're putting yourself 2 or 5 years out, I know that's the opposite of doing day by day, but have you thought about what you might say to yourself looking back at this period of life?
A little bit. And I just want to look back and not have any regrets in terms of what I could have done more, or what, maybe I did too much of. Right. And so that's where thinking about like the emotional aspect, about what's best for people's, mental and emotional state, in addition to like the physical and, financial state, is weighing a lot more, like I talked about in the beginning. So I just want to look back and be proud of, what I did and who I was, and know that, I left it all out there. Right. And whatever that looks like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but that's what I want.
Yeah. And the next thing I think of is the girls, right? So when it comes to talking about this type of stuff, I've mentioned just a little bit, right, that there's been times like I've been sober for 2.5 years now, and it's not all been, roses and peaches or whatever the phrase is, right? And again, similarly, I think this is something that I was talking to Mel about yesterday, but I've been through at least 2 depressive episodes in the last 2.5 years. And at least one of them, I was at a point where I was able to communicate what was going on in real time, which was like a new thing for me.
Yeah.
That generally my depressions lasted weeks or months, and sometimes I wouldn't talk about it for years. And so I was able to like, not only tell Mel about it in real time, but I was able to talk to Chloe about it, because she kind of understands a little bit of what's going on in the world, especially what's going on with family. So, I know you've got a heart out at 4:30 and we're right in the middle of the weeds right now. But it's again, I think it's just obviously an important thing in our lives, right? How do we communicate the real things, right? Like we're the parents now, right? We're the ones that are taking care of our parents, in some senses, right? And in 30 years from now, right, the girls are going to be looking back at like how we handle these situations, and they are these smart little critters that have a deep connected sense of what's going on. So maybe if we're sticking on that emotional availability, what does that look like, for you and the girls right now?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. And one thing I thought of is, yeah, Charlotte is old enough to pick up on all that stuff and ask about it, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've had maybe not conversations, but spoken with her, just like, yeah, Daddy's sad right now because of this,
Yeah.
and she's actually so amazing with it. She just goes, "Oh, Daddy, it's okay. I love you," and she gives you a big hug, and then I
Yeah.
actually, feel a little bit better, or the opposite. I'll be like, "Hey, Charlie, like, Mommy's sad. Can you, go get her a sparkling water from the fridge or something?" And she's like, "Okay, yes, I'll do that for Mommy." And so,
Yeah.
like, I do love that aspect of having kids, but I think it's important to, yeah, again, express those emotions, and yeah, luckily for me, I've been through a couple depressive bouts myself, but I have been more of the person where I get super scared of keeping it in. So I do tend to at least show it emotionally and want to talk about it, which I know is not in the majority for men. And so I think personally that's helped me. But yeah, just in general, like talking about stuff and being open is important.
I could not agree more. I know that I've said this in passing, or at least in text, just about like being available, right? Like I really mean it, that anybody at any point in time can call me and I will talk to you. And, I'm not going to have answers to what's going on in your life, right? But I think listening and being present is just such a huge part about getting through some of those moments. And I'm super proud of you, Trip, for reaching out and having this ability to kind of be open with what's going on in your life. And I wish, you and your family the best as you guys navigate these tough waters. I am just so grateful and overwhelmed at the moment about just the connection that we've got going on between us and the league. And I'm just so excited to see what we do with this thing year over year. And these little snapshots, I think are going to be just super awesome gems in our life as we move forward. So with that, do you have any closing words you want to get out there, Trip?
No, I agree with that. Right. And like I have a lot of, close relationships with you and other guys in the league. And yeah, like it's nice knowing that people are there to talk about it. But I do find myself not reaching out to have those conversations, but I know deep down, like when I'm ready or I need that I will have the support, and that feels amazing, and I hope people feel that reciprocated as well. Yeah, no, I love you, Ken. We've been together a long time. We have our own relationship dating back a long ways, but yeah, thanks for having me on, and it's going to be an interesting night of football, so we'll see. Actually looks like I just pulled up the game and looks like Luke's already cooking me. Nico scored and Baker scored. So good game, Luke. I'll just be cheering for the Raiders tonight.
Oh, good Lord. Well, you got me feeling all sorts of ways, Springfield. I love you too. This has been an amazing podcast. One of my early favorites. Put it up there. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the matchup. I appreciate your time. Thanks for roughing it out with me. This was probably the least prepared I've been on an episode. But in a universe empty or overflowing with star stuff, I'm glad to have shared this moment with you now. You are loved from here to fantasy football till death. And on a quick side note, just to wrap up here, I don't know if you've seen or the rest of the league seen, you've got Jupe in the background, but on Mars, some of the sample returns, they are thinking that they found irrefutable evidence of biotic life on Mars. So
I saw that this week. Yeah.
doesn't look like a drill. This looks like it might be the first verifiable evidence of life outside of our little rock. So, holy fuck, dude. We got a lot of stuff going on, cooking right now in
That's
space.
huge.
All right, Trip. It's been real. Thanks for being on, and I love you.
All right. I love you too. Peace.